And of course, a sporting takeoff from the Vulcan. She's much lighter than she was when she was in operational service, had lots of operational equipment removed. Also, she doesn't have two stout navigators down the back, which always helps reduce the weight. She has just 3 crew. The captain and flying today is Bill Ramsey. The co-captain is Martin Withers, the Martin Withers who flew the Vulcan down to the Falkland Islands and back in 1982. And the air electronics operator, Phil Davies, in the back of the aircraft, managing the complicated electrics of this aeroplane. He's on day release from Selex ES, so we're grateful to them for letting him go to join in the team today. The display will start with Vulcan coming back towards us on the so-called B axis, at right angles to the main display axis, and we'll take it from there. She's proved herself the single most popular aeroplane in the country. She's the people's aeroplane. And she is, of course, held in trust for the nation. She's not owned by the Royal Air Force. She's not paid for by the Ministry of Defence. She's paid for solely by the great British people and the aviation industry. She's cost something like £20 million to get to this stage so far, and you wonderful people have been immensely generous in contributing a significant proportion of that money. Spirited wing over there from Bill Ramsey. So this aircraft was first of all thought of, the Vulcan, immediately after the war. The wonderful Roy Chadwick, who designed the Lancaster, drew on a scruffy piece of paper which still exists, a shape which is recognisable as Vulcan in 1946. Now that was only 5 years after the Lancaster first flew, which is quite extraordinary because when you look at this aircraft and you compare it to the Lancaster, they might have come from different centuries. She first flew in 1952, so that was only 11 years after the Lancaster first flew. So last year we were celebrating the Diamond Jubilee of the first flight of Vulcan, along with, of course, Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee, and every time she flew last year we had permission to say that it was in celebration of Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee. Engines producing quite a lot of unburnt fuel out of the back as she comes back towards us. And if you look at the underside of the aircraft, I think you'll see the bomb bay doors opening shortly. There they go now. That's the bomb bay that carried 21 1,000-pound bombs all the way to the Falkland Islands and dropped them on Port Stanley runway, hitting them with 2 of them. That was about par for the course for a non-directed, non-smart bomb at the time, so it did the job that was required of it. What does the bomb bay have in it now? Well, it has the names of lots of people who've sponsored their name to be in the bomb bay. So if you would like to have your name flying in this magnificent aeroplane, you should go down to the Vulcan village at the far right-hand end, which is where Vulcan will be parked again when she lands back at the end of her display. So go down and see them down there. You could sponsor to have your name in the bomb bay as she comes back. This time I expect to see the bomb bay closing. If you've got very good binoculars, you might be able to read the odd name in there. Bomb bay closing now. Opened and closed by Phil Davies. And Phil Davies as the air electronics operator. Lovely wing over there. I was saying that after she left the Royal Air Force in 1993, nobody thought that the Vulcan would ever fly again. But because the wonderful Walton family bought the last one, this aircraft, the last one in RAF service, and looked after her until along came Dr. Robert Fleming, who started up the Vulcan to the Sky Trust, which is the charity that still runs her to this day. She was helped by a 2.7 million Heritage Lottery grant. They refused it first time round. They said, we don't do things that move. But second time round, they gave the money. And since then, it's cost another, 16, 17 million pounds to get her to this stage. Lots of help from very generous donors, including lots of people here. But people like Sir Jack Hayward and enormous generosity of Eddie Forrester of Aerobites. Big support from the Civil Aviation Authority and many other companies, AD Holdings, BAE Systems, Beagle Technology, Cranfield Aerospace, Goodrich, Kearsley Airways, Meggitt, Messier Doughty, Rolls-Royce and Serco, and of course, as you may have seen as she took off, EADS, great help from them. Marshall Aerospace and the Engineering Authority, they have, of course, had to satisfy the Civil Aviation Authority that they have all the necessary capabilities and experience to be the authority for this globally unique restoration of a military aircraft. Marshall Aerospace has been there for Vulcan doing this essential work since 1999. But despite all that help, it's still costing £2 million a year to run the whole shebang. So the charity has to raise £38,500 every week. Bill Ramsey completing a spiral climb, and then he'll spiral back down again. Much of the fundraising that I was talking about just now is done by the Vulcan to the Sky Club, one of the biggest aviation restoration clubs in the business. If you want to join, they'd be very happy to have you. So perhaps you should get to the Vulcan village when she's finished her display and join the Vulcan to the Sky Club. She now lives, this magnificent aeroplane, at what used to be RAF Finningley. She was actually based there between 1960 and 1968, but it's now snappily known as Robin Hood Airport, Doncaster, Sheffield. She lives in a sumptuous hangar there, and she takes visitors. You can go and see her when she's not flying, and they'd be very happy to welcome you up at Robin Hood Airport, Doncaster, Sheffield. Like it's easier to call it Finningley. See, we've got the wheels down now. I don't think that means she's landing straight away, but we shall see another slow fly past. You'll be able to check on the colour scheme. She has the Lincoln coat of arms on the tail fin, representing, of course, Lincolnshire being the bomber alley of the Royal Air Force. She also has the Panther's head of number 1 group of Bomber Command on the nose, because she does represent all the Vulcan squadrons in the 1970s. 9, 12, 27, 35, 44, 50, 83, 101, and of course 617. And we're having a special celebration of 617 later today. I should say somebody who's not on board today is Kevin Taft Stone, the crew chief and the chief engineer. He always says, 558, XH558, this aeroplane is my baby. And I was questioned the other day as to why I always refer to her as she. Well, Taft put it quite nicely, said she's definitely female. She is very high maintenance. She requires a lot of looking after. And as she goes away, you get an idea of how slim she is in cross-section. Just a reminder, that's not Kev doing that, that's Bill Ramsey, bless him. So I think that's almost the end of the display. I know that the Vulcan to the Sky Trust would really love to see you down at the Vulcan Village, down at the right-hand end, quite close to where she parks. Later this afternoon, you may be able to get a tour around under the wing of the aircraft, a guided tour that people will tell you a lot about her. That all takes place down at the Vulcan Village. That, of course, depends on other aircraft movements, but we're hoping to do that this afternoon. If you're not going to go down to the village, the website is vulcantothesky.org, vulcantothesky.org. You could even contribute money at this very moment by getting out your mobile and sending a text. You text the words, the letters and figures, VULC133, VULC 133, to the number 770, 70070. So text VULC133, VULC 133 to the number 70070. It'll cost you £3. You have to have the permission, obviously, of the person who pays the bills. All of that £3 will go to the Vulcan to the Sky Trust. They'll contact you and say thank you and enable you to use gift aid. As she comes in for her final approach out to the left, because this is a very long runway here, I doubt we shall see the braking parachute, which is rather a shame because it's a magnificent thing to see, but she doesn't need it on this nice long runway. But I suspect we will see Bill keeping the nose wheel up for as long as he can, allowing the great size of those delta wings to hit the oncoming airflow and slow her down without even troubling the brakes very much. On her 16 main wheels, I can see her just touching down now. So, once more, thank you to everybody who has supported this magnificent aeroplane. We're immensely proud to be able to continue to display her in front of you. We did think this was going to be her last year. There's something called Operation 2015, which may well mean that she goes on flying until the end of the 2015 season. More about that to be found out down at the Vulcan Village or on the website. Look at that. Air brakes out, nose wheel held high, just dropping down as she passes by. Thank you very much for being with us. Please do go down to the Vulcan Village. We'll look forward to seeing you there. And thank you to Fairford for letting us